What I do still want to do, however, is to align this image so that this text wraps up around it. So I could create an image left style, like we did in an earlier lesson, or if you notice over here, all of the layouts that I've seen in Dreamweaver so far always include a float right and a float left, because that's such a common design element to use when you're working in CSS. So if I simply select this image, in the class section in the properties panel, I can choose the existing float left and use that to bring my text up next to this image. Finally, if I want to change the formatting of this heading, notice that it's already formatted with an H3. That's what it was formatted with in that text to copy file. There is no style over here for H3, but if you want to know what's controlling the font of that, you can click on Current, and you'll see that the font is set to Verdana in the body tag. That's what's controlling the font here. But because there's no H3 style to override that, that's the only thing affecting it, besides the bold that's inherent in H3. Now I could change it to H1 and use the existing H1 style, except this H1 style is specific to the header area of the page. Remember, that's the H1 that was controlling the formatting of the header up here. So now I have a few options. I could create a new H1 in the main content area, or I could edit this existing H1 if I know I like it and change it to refer to the main content area. So this gets into some editing of CSS, and watch what I'm doing here. When I change this from header to main content, and then click anywhere to impact that, I've now changed this style to apply to H1 in this part of the page instead of in this part of the page. If you do this, you need to be very careful to make sure that you match exactly in case, spelling, and every other detail the name of the div. So main content H1, it has to match exactly. Then I can further refine this style. So if I wanted to make that a little bit smaller text size, I could simply choose the type category, and let's set the size to extra large. And you see you can add styles or you can edit existing styles in any of these layouts. One last detail I'll point out because it's a little confusing when you're still new to CSS. All of the layouts that Dreamweaver includes have a class setting in the body tag that is used to specify all of the styles within that collection as the two-column fixed right header. I think that's a little more specific than it needs to be, and it complicates the list of styles here. So when I'm creating my own site, if I want to use one of these existing layouts, I would take a few extra minutes and remove that class from the body tag. So I can just delete that from the body tag, and when I refresh to see what's happening on my page, wait a minute, all my styling's gone. Well, that's because all of these styles will only work if the body tag is set to that two-col fixed right header, unless I change them here. And that's actually quite easy. So watch how these styles come back into place as I delete that extra class from the front of each of these styles. The other lesson to remember as you watch me remove this part of the style name is that anytime you change the name of a style in your document, in your HTML, or in the assignment in the page, you must also change it in the CSS panel, and vice versa. The name of the style and the name of the style as it's applied in the page must match perfectly. And although you can easily change the name of a style here in the CSS panel, if you don't change it in the design area, you'll break the association. For example, if I change container to be container2, and I don't change it over here, then I lose that style. But as soon as I make this a container2 and they match again, that style applies again. So watch that whatever you have here matches what you have here, and your styles should always look good when you preview them in a browser. And there's my page. One last little addition if you want, we can add something to the footer here and change that style. If you want to have a copyright symbol or attribution for the photographer, you can always add that to the footer. And again, if you want to change the style, all we have to do is look at the footer here. I've got padding set and a background color. Of course, I could change both of those things. And I've got a P setting for the paragraph tag. If I wanted to change the font settings here, that would be a good place to associate those changes. So let's just open that up. And now we could make this a smaller text size. And let's make it bold and italics. And you see, by altering the existing style, I can easily change the way this looks on the page. And that's a quick look at Dreamweaver's CSS layouts and how you can use these pre-designed pages to save time as you create your own site. And remember, you don't have to use these layouts exactly as they've been created. By changing the styles in the CSS panel, you can alter them to better fit your own designs. So let's close out of this design. We can go ahead and save those changes. And let's open the other sample site I've included in this lesson and use it as we go through a lesson about dynamic web templates.